Welcome to Module 2, Introducing Allegro Package Designer Plus. Here are the objectives for this module. Use the Start menu on the Windows system to start the Allegro Package Designer Plus. And if you have a Linux system, take a look at the lab instructions for starting APD on Linux. The slide also shows you how to start the pad stack editor, which is used to create pad geometries which are used as pins in package symbols or in the layout as routing vias or bond fingers.
There are several different areas that you need to become familiar with when using the APD user interface. The window banner is located at the very top of the window. This specifies the application name, the database that is currently open, and the current working directory. The menu bar is located directly beneath the window banner. These menu items contain all the commands required to create and modify a design. The icon ribbon is a set of icons that invoke APD commands. Groups of icons or toolbars may be created to suit individual preferences. If the cursor pauses over an icon, the APD command for that icon is displayed. The design window is the drawing area where components are placed, traces are added, text is placed, and so forth. This is where the design is created. The console window is at the bottom left portion of the APD window. This window has two major functions. The first function is to display messages and prompts to you. The second function is to allow you to type in APD commands. The status bar is located at the bottom of the user interface. The status bar contains the current command being executed. In this case, the word idle is displayed because no command is currently active. The status bar also contains the X and Y coordinates of your cursor location when your cursor is placed in the design window. The X and Y coordinates are relative to the 0, point or origin of your design. The control windows work in conjunction with APD commands. The Option tab shows parameters for the current command. The Find tab determines which design objects to select from the graphical area, and the Visibility tab controls the graphic display for the conductor layers. When you hover your cursor over an Options, Find, or Visibility tab, the corresponding window is expanded so you can access the information in the window. When you move your cursor outside of these windows, the window will collapse again to maximize your drawing area. Use the left mouse button to select graphic elements in a design, such as lines, vias, and text. You can select a group of items by dragging a rectangle with the left mouse button. All applicable items within the rectangle will be selected. You also use the left mouse button to select commands from the text menus and icons. Some forms contain entry fields with a list of built-in options. To display and select these options, you will also use the left mouse button. Use the right mouse button to display pop-up menus containing options associated with the current command. The right mouse button is also used with the Control key to execute APD strokes. Press and hold the middle mouse button while moving the cursor in the direction you want to pan. If you click the middle mouse button, the system will either zoom in or zoom in the part outline. Nets, the signal names associated with component pins. Pins, the pad stacks that represent the bumps on the die or the balls of the BGA of a component, for instance. Vias are the physical mechanisms. Certain commands can be run using patterns of mouse movements called strokes. Stroke patterns can be user-defined, or you can use the default patterns shown here. The stroke being displayed is an alias in APD to the command window points. The plus sign indicates the beginning of the stroke. When using strokes to run commands, the following apply. The window world stroke can be drawn anywhere in the design window to window out to the entire extent of your drawing. The window points stroke zooms into the area where the Z is drawn. The move, copy, and delete strokes select the object under the first point of the stroke in conjunction with the find filter. To run a command using a stroke, in the design window, locate the cursor over the object you want to copy, move, delete, or zoom into. Hold down the Control key on the keyboard and the right mouse button at the same time to make the stroke. When the stroke is completed, release the right mouse button. If APD recognizes the stroke, the command is executed. If the stroke is unrecognized, APD displays the message, "Stroke not recognized," in the console window.
The User Preferences Editor lets you set or unset preferences known as environment variables. All changes are written to the user's environment file. All preferences are grouped together based on like functionality. When you select a category from the left side, all the preferences in that category are listed in the category section on the right side of the form. Note that certain variables can only be set or unset, while other variables require values to be entered. The category section contains the preference name, the current value, and the effective period. The effective period can have several values, including next command or at restart. The next command option specifies that the preference takes effect after clicking OK in the User Preferences Editor. The at restart command specifies that the preference will not take effect until the tool has been terminated and restarted again. The summary description section of the form displays a description of the preference selected. The Display tab in the Setup Drawing Parameters form lets you access various options that control how the design is displayed.
Using the Visibility tab is a quick way to turn on or off the most commonly used classes and subclasses in your design. There are separate controls for the routing layers and plane layers, and conductors, pins, vias, and DRC errors. The Conductors checkbox allows for all objects to be turned on or off for all layers defined as conductor type. The Planes checkbox allows all layers defined as planes to be displayed or removed from the form. By selecting the All checkbox, the visibility for the pins, vias, conductors, and DRCs can be turned on or off for all plane layers. Selecting the box under the All column turns on or off an entire layer. Views allow you to save and restore predefined visibility settings. The visibility of each class and subclass may be turned on or off, and you can control which color to use for each class and subclass. Using the Color Visibility form allows the designer to select which class and subclass to display and to assign a color to each class and subclass. Whenever a new design is started, the default setting is to have every class and subclass visible. The Color and Visibility form organizes the classes and subclasses into groups. By selecting a different group name, a new set of classes and subclasses appears in the form. The palette contains 192 colors that may be customized by selecting the Modify button on the form. Once a design is saved, the color settings are saved with that design file. To save a palette that has been modified, select File, Save Color Palette from the text menu of the form. This creates a file with a .col extension that can be loaded into other designs. The .col file may be used with other design files by selecting File, Load Color Palette from the text menu of the form. This will only affect the 192 color palette and not the class and subclass settings. The Options form displays current parameters and values for the currently active command and also contains fields that let you control the actions performed by the current active command. The fields that appear in the Options form differ according to the active command. When you choose an APD command, the Options tab changes to reflect the appropriate class and the default subclass. The parameters and values you set in the option form take effect immediately. They override definitions for the same parameters and values that may exist elsewhere in the APD software. For example, the APD software looks to the Drawing Options dialog box, accessed by Setup, Drawing Options, for the rotation and text values. However, if you place a different value in the Options tab, APD ignores the information in the Drawing Options dialog box. When you update values in the Drawing Options dialog box, the default values in the Options form change as well. The pictures above show the Options field for 3 different common APD commands. The Show Element command displays helpful information about selected elements in a design. The command may be accessed through the Show Element icon or by selecting Display Element from the APD text menu. Use the Show Element command to evaluate net names, reference designators, pin numbers, line widths, and much more in your designs. Display Measure operates as a distance calculator. It measures the delta x, delta y, Manhattan, and straight line distance between two objects. It also calculates the edge-to-edge or air gap distance between two objects. Display Property searches the design database and generates a list of elements having the specified property attached to them. Display Parasitics calculates capacitance between any two conductors, traces, filled rectangles, or shapes, as well as capacitance to internal planes, as defined by shield layers. An application mode provides an intuitive environment in which commands used frequently in a particular task domain, such as etch editing, are readily accessible from right mouse button pop-up menus based on a selection set of design elements you have chosen. This customized environment maximizes productivity when you use multiple commands on the same design elements or those in close proximity in the design. Application mode configures your tool for a specific task by populating the right mouse button with only the commands that operate in the current selection set. The different application modes available are General Edit Mode. This is the default mode when the tool is first launched. It allows you to perform editing tasks including place and route, as well as moving, copying, and mirroring items. Etch Edit Mode is the application mode that customizes your environment to perform etch editing tasks. Examples would be adding or sliding connections, delay tuning, smoothing connect lines or connect line segments. Placement Edit Mode is the application mode that customizes your environment to perform component placement tasks, such as moving and rotating components. None is a selection that disables the pre-selection of objects, and all commands must be run in a post-selection mode. The APD editor defaults to a pre-selection use model, which lets you choose a design element and then a command from a right mouse button pop-up menu. This pre-selection use model lets you easily access commands based on the design elements you have chosen in the design canvas, which the tool highlights and uses as a selection set, thereby eliminating extraneous mouse clicks and allowing you to remain focused on the design canvas. While base elements, such as C-line segs, pins, and vias, cannot be parents of other elements, they are the building blocks of which hierarchical elements, such as nets, C-lines, and components, are made. A pin is a child of a net, as well as that of a symbol and a function. Similarly, a C-line could be a child of a symbol and a net. For a symbol with a shape containing a void, for example, the hierarchy may span 5 levels. The segment comprising the void has a hierarchy of other seg, void, shape, symbol, and finally the component that all those belong to. If you enable more than one base or hierarchical element in the find filter, the base element determines the hierarchical element you may choose. You navigate through the hierarchy by using the Tab key. However, the Tab key is unavailable when you select by window, which chooses only top-level hierarchical elements. The find filter can be used to disable the selection of unwanted elements.
Please take some time to do these lab exercises.